The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Hello, everyone. This is Phil McKinney, and welcome to this week's show. I was recently having a conversation with some people with regards to what makes good leaders for innovation. What are the things that leaders should be aware of to avoid, but also what are the characteristics of good leaders? Can you identify those? Can you quantify them? People in this discussion included innovation leaders themselves, but it also included headhunters, recruiters, academics, and I've had a number of conversations because it kind of triggered this whole chain of thought about how do you recruit top leadership, particularly if you're not promoting from within. If you got to go outside to hire an innovation leader, how do you go about doing that? What are the flags that you should avoid? But also, what are the things you should look for? So today's show, we're going to take a look at leadership roadblocks. What are those flags that you should maybe think about avoiding if you were either appointing someone within your organization, or you're going to recruit somebody from the outside to run innovation, or if you are wanting to be the innovation leader within your organization, or you already are. In some cases, we're blind to our own, failings, things that we do that may be preventing our team to be successful. It doesn't mean you can't be the innovation leader. Look, all of us have warts on our skills and abilities and how we react to things, stuff like that. But in this case of how do you think about these eight leadership roadblocks that I'm going to share with you in today's show, can give you some insight on the things that you should just be conscious of, be self-aware, whether it's yourself or whether you're recruiting somebody to be that next innovation leader. So before we hop into this week's show, got a favor to ask. Like us over on social media, follow us. That's where I post throughout the week. And it's the best way to keep up with what all is going on here at Killer Innovations. Also, share this episode with somebody else. Maybe you know somebody who's an innovation leader who could maybe benefit from a little self-reflection, or maybe giving it to your headhunter and recruiting firm that's out there looking. And then also give us a comment, give us some feedback. Love to hear your thoughts. Wherever you get the podcast, go give us a thumbs up and help us get the word out about the show and what we've been doing here now, 17 going on 18 years coming up in March. So with that, without any further ado, let's hop into this week's episode.
This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
Innovation is the secret sauce to success. I've dedicated now 17 going on 18 years of doing this show to evangelize that message. And I think most people get it. But too often, our efforts to create innovative products, new services, they get derailed by our good intentions, market factors, and roadblocks that hold us back. Business leadership has literally spent billions searching for innovation. From creating innovation centers to innovation labs to incubators to organizations and teams custom inside of your organization, trying to find that elusive idea, that elusive innovation. Some would call it a snipe hunt for innovation. It must be a snipe hunt because 94% of executives in a recent survey say they are frustrated with their company's efforts to harness innovation. So, what are leaders to do? The major paradox managers face is that the system that enables success, business success today, based on today's management model, reinforce behaviors that are inconsistent, that do not align, do not support the creating of a culture of innovation. I've talked many times about my frustration on businesses' focus on quarterly results. Quarterly results reporting if you're a public company or startups trying to move at a very quick pace. That is just one of many examples of this paradox, this thing that managers face where I want to do innovation, but at the same time, I'm stuck in a mode or a model that does not support the innovation effort. Business leaders must remove this barrier. They've got to get these barriers out of the way as a first step towards embracing innovation if they are going to have any hope of innovation success. To do this, you start at the top with the leaders that welcome and support new and innovative ways of thinking. And to be quite honest, with all of the organizations that I have coached and mentored and advised, this tends to be one of the biggest issues of just getting the leaders to be open, to be welcome, to have the conversation. I can't tell you how many times I get phone calls from CEOs whereby they had listened to an episode of the podcast. They had been given an episode of the podcast by someone on their staff to listen, and they felt that the message in that show, that particular episode, spoke to them, pointed out the frustrations and challenges they are facing. Everybody gets that innovation is important, but again, we're on this snipe hunt. We're on this hunt for this elusive thing that we will never find by just running around and searching under every rock, tree, and bush. Now, to do this, again, leadership must lead with bold, creative ideas. They must be willing to be the example. If a leader does this, they will inspire that spark that could spread into a change in your culture, a change within your organization. So let's get specific here. Let's talk about what are these leadership roadblocks that prevent organizations from achieving innovation success. So, first one out of the gate, and I've talked about this, there's an old episode on this around groupthink. Now, groupthink occurs when everyone makes that kind of unspoken, kind of look at everybody in the room kind of decision to follow along with wherever the group is headed. If the most outspoken member of your organization, your team, you know who that person is. If that person proposes an idea and no one is willing to challenge them, the organization slides into this concept of groupthink, which stymies that innovation and may prevent some of the best ideas from being presented. Somebody else, the most outspoken person's ideas get embraced. Why would somebody else be willing to put their idea on the table? So groupthink is a big issue, and it's a challenge for organizations that have been around for long periods of time, where people have been involved in the organization for long periods of time. That is where groupthink falls in. There's a meme that's going around on social media that talks about when everybody thinks alike, then nobody is thinking. And that is the ultimate epitome of groupthink. You've got to break that groupthink. Groupthink being that one barrier, that one of those initial roadblocks to innovation success. Number two, the next roadblock to innovation, leadership innovation, is burnout. Look, we have a lot on our plates. Everybody's doing a lot of stuff. If you're firing on all cylinders all the time, burnout is inevitable. And it can easily be the death of creativity. Innovation depends on creative thinking, which depends on what? Time to think. Some people can't come up with their best ideas even at their desks. It may be sitting on a pier fishing, it may be walking on the beach, it may be taking your kids skiing. This is where this burnout can really get in the way. If you don't leave enough breathing room, if people don't find that ability to kind of step back and really just think, just find that creative spark. And look, rest is necessary. Creativity comes from your subconscious. Your subconscious is most effective when it is well rested. So, roadblocks to innovation that leaders need to think about is burnout. Burnout in your team. Number 3, lack of resources. Sometimes it's not a lack of inspiration that's blocking your innovation. It's that lack of resources. People, time, and money. When innovation teams lack resources, it can be difficult, if not impossible, to get past that idea and into execution. And most organizations do not dedicate the resources, particularly the money, to support an idea that gets developed in a brainstorming session and cannot immediately be put into action because there's no funding, there's no time, there's no people that can be allocated to the work. Resourcing, lack of resources. This is one of the biggest roadblocks that leaders who really want to drive innovation within the organization need to address. Number 4, insufficient trust. Now, trust is an important component in any business initiative. It's not unique to innovation, but it's especially essential, though, to the innovation efforts. Why is that? When there isn't enough trust amongst the team members and the organization, the teams are going to get skeptical that the ideas they develop will be taken seriously and action and execution will be taken. The result is they don't even try. Now, where does this trust get broken down? It tends to get broken down, at least from my experience, is in poorly run brainstorming activities. So someone from leadership says, ooh, let's hurry up and brainstorm a new product or service. So then what happens? You get 10 of your best and brightest people, you put them in a conference room, you tell them that management's asking for some new products and services and we need to develop those. Someone raises their hand and goes, oh, I'll be the scribe. And they stand at the flipboard and they dutifully write down every idea that everybody's throwing out on the table. That's good for about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. And then what happens? It starts to peter out. People start running out of anything new ideas. So you kind of wrap it up at 25, 30 minutes. Another person goes, I'll take the papers. I'll take them back to my desk. I'll type up the list of the ideas and I'll send them around to everybody. What do? They type up that email. They send it around. Now here's the magic question. What happens next? Now be honest. What happens next? Nothing. You've got this email that may have 50, 75, 100, 200 ideas on it. Which idea are you going to go forward with? What are you going to do with that? Nobody knows. So what happens? Somebody takes that list, puts 200 ideas up, sends it up to management. What tends to happen? Other priorities take over, nobody ever looks at it, or someone in senior management picks a project. And odds are it's their pet project already. Now, what message does that send to the 10 people in the room? Nobody values my input. Nobody values my ideas. There's no trust between management asking for ideas, submitting the idea, and then nothing happening. Destroys this trust, where trust is absolutely critical. It is a significant roadblock if you are trying to create a culture of innovation within your organization. And number 5, stopping at the ideas. Continuing on this story about the poorly run brainstorming session, now you've got an idea. Maybe you do have an idea. Maybe you run a very well-run brainstorming session where you do ranking and you rank those ideas so you know the best idea that you are going to go forward with. But then what happens? Nothing. We count the success of having the idea. But as I say all the time and remind teams all the time, ideas without execution is a hobby. And I'm not in the hobby business. I'm in the innovation business. I'm into how do we take an idea and turn it into something, turn it into a real product, a real service, a real experience, something that has impact. Now, ideas are great, but they have to be backed up with action. And the best people to back that up are inspired and engaged employees. So as a leader, your ability to knock down this barrier of just stopping at the idea, getting behind them, supporting them, pushing them, encouraging their motion to action is absolutely critical. Letting good ideas die in the pipeline is a common innovation pitfall that should be avoided at all costs. Don't let an idea die a natural death of neglect. That is something that a leader should never, ever allow to happen. And number 6, preferential treatment. Now, unfortunately, some managers are not able to see the value of seeking out diverse opinions, getting ideas from a wide range of people with a wide range of backgrounds and a wide range of experiences and a wide range of thinking styles, right? Sometimes preferential treatment can get in the way of innovation. Managers may prioritize the idea of just a few people. Maybe, that one person who everybody looks to, if their ideas automatically get approved, their ideas automatically get funded, their ideas automatically move forward. Anybody else's ideas have to be thought about, and we'll look at it again next quarter or whatever. Preferential treatment. Now, when I come across this within organizations, one of the things that I find so interesting is that a lot of leaders do not recognize that they are applying this preferential treatment approach to the selection of the ideas, the work that they're trying to drive within innovation. Now, you may be sitting there going, well, I don't do that. That's not me. Or I haven't seen this. Ask somebody the specific question. You may not be self-aware. And it's not like, hey, you're a bad person or I'm a bad person or, it is something that we just do. We find a crutch. We find maybe somebody who we put that higher level of trust in, and that's good. But when it comes to innovation, you want to get ideas from as broad a base as possible. If you're going to run an effective brainstorming session, you want the broadest diversity you can possibly have. And that is absolutely critical. If you don't have that diversity and you use this preferential treatment, then you are going to run into a situation where you're not encouraging others to speak up. They go quiet. You don't hear what ideas they have going on. The result is you get fewer ideas with decreased diversity. All the ideas kind of fall into this very narrow lane. And what I have seen happen as a result of this is that you will end up with ideas that lead to innovations that are incremental, that are low impact, that don't really elicit or create a change within your organization. And that's not the objective. If you're going to spend the effort, if you're going to put the time in to try to drive an innovation impact, satisfying yourself or being happy with incremental low impact, why do it? In this preferential treatment, this lack of diversity of ideas, if you don't get this right, your entire innovation pipeline becomes very weak, very low impact, and you will not achieve your objective. Number 7, lack of collaboration. This is actually one of the most common barriers I see all the time, but it's also one of the hardest ones to fix. Now, some leaders prioritize credit for the idea. The result is that leader is unwilling to collaborate with others, since that would require that they have to share the idea. This concept of credit for the idea drives me nuts. And I tell teams, and I tell individuals, and I tell companies and organizations, you've got to get out of this mindset that people are looking for that credit. Now, people need to get recognized for their work. They need to be recognized for their efforts. But innovation is a team sport. It's not about the individual. And I cannot tell you how many leaders I have run into where the leader is so focused in on them getting the credit. It's their idea. I did this work. This is my result. I did this, and then I gave it to my team to do something with or turn it into something. Collaboration, to do successful collaboration is the result of an enhanced relationship between leaders and teams across the organization. That enhanced relationship includes things like trust, which we've already talked about. It includes resources. It includes driving the actions to actually take something and move forward with it, right? Collaboration is people saying, okay, you are pulling all of us together with a vision, a direction, an encouragement, and support, irrespective of where people come from across the organization. Collaboration is not within just your team. It's reaching across and putting together the best possible people that can work on this idea to make it successful. Without a strong culture of collaboration, I can almost guarantee that the innovation efforts within the organization will fail. You may be able to get to a proof of concept. You may be able to get it, to show something in a demo to VIPs or something, but it won't have the impact. To have an impact inside of an organization, you eventually have to bring that entire organization around to collaborate. It takes everybody from finance to IT to legal to technologists to strategists to marketing to sales. You need to be able to collaborate across the entire organization. And if you, as a leader, do not build that unique and enhanced relationship where you show the value of what they bring, you recognize their contributions, you get them engaged, you help ignite that passion. If you don't do that, that lack of collaboration will almost guarantee whatever idea, whatever innovation you have, no matter how great it is, you are relegating that to failure. And not just little failure. We're talking about going down in absolute flames. Number 8 of the barriers on leadership roadblocks, this one is fear. Face it, the riskier ideas are scary. They're hard to bring forward. As a leader or as your team, lots of leaders will try to avoid risks. You may have created a culture where it's not safe to fail. And it's not safe to fail when there isn't any trust that failure will be accepted as a normal part of the innovation process. Failure is normal. If you're not failing, you're not trying. If you are developing your innovation projects, your innovation pipeline, and to avoid failure or to even have the appearance of failure, then you're spending all your effort on that versus having your effort on how do I develop that innovation that's going to be a game changer, that's really going to transform what is going on. So that fear is a culture, a barrier, a roadblock that will prevent anybody's willingness to step forward. And it does wrap around this concept of trust. Sometimes the riskiest ideas end up being the best, and your innovation efforts suffer without them. If you're not willing to take that risk, if you're not willing to really go out there and push and try something that's never been tried before, you'll never know. You'll never know what the possibilities were. In the 90s and 2000s in Silicon Valley, there was this little pullback that occurred in the valley about risk, right? There had been a couple of big, high-funded organizations that got, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of funding and then failed. And then everybody kind of took a half a step back and let's take maybe a little less risk in the work that we're doing. And that resulted in, maybe not such exciting innovations, not such exciting new products and services that were coming out. So, how do you get around this? Getting comfortable with the fact that failure is normal. A group of people in Silicon Valley launched what they call FailCon, which is a failure conference. And basically it encourages leaders across organizations all over the valley to stand up and share their biggest failure. A number of years ago, I was invited to deliver a keynote and then facilitate a workshop with the top, 200, 300 leaders at Vail Resorts. So if you're not familiar, Vail Resorts is the largest provider of ski winter sports facilities around the world. They're headquartered in Colorado, and the CEO happened to have read my book and invited me to come up to their leadership retreat, which was up at Keystone, one of the resorts here in Colorado. They wanted to encourage the teams, the leaders, to try new things. Now, you have to understand, Vail's history was that they were founded by a bunch of former military. These were all people who were in the military, who were on the ski patrol teams, right? So these are the army guys up in the mountains, skiing into battle. And when they got out, they all decided that they really liked the skiing portion of it, and they wanted to create fun places to go ski. And that's how Vail Resorts came into existence. But coming out of the military, they also had very strict standard operating procedures. So they have an SOP, standard operating procedure for everything from how the valet parks the car to how you plow a parking lot to how you groom trails, everything. So that kind of discourages innovation, and they wanted to try something different. They wanted to encourage innovation. So they asked me to come in and teach and do this workshop. So what I did is basically run, would you call it a mini or a micro version of a fail conference for Vail. So I was teaching and running the workshops, and as normally you would do, you would take these breaks in between sessions. And what we did when we came back from every break, we had every person on the executive team, one at a time. So CEO took the first break, the CFO took the second break, the head of HR took the third break. They would then stand up at the opening, everybody's coming back into the room from getting their coffees and teas and whatever. The executive team member would stand on stage and then would tell the story in about 5 to 8 minutes of their worst failure in their career. The thing that just totally blew up in their face. The time when they tried something and it didn't work, or they made a mistake, or they made a bad decision. And, and people would, at the end, what we saw is people would cheer, they would yell, people would laugh, people would nod their heads like they'd done the same thing. But what it did, though, was transform the organization. That simple transparency of knocking down this fear of failure transformed the organization. People sitting in the audience said, well, whoa, if the CEO could have that big of a failure and still achieve ultimate career success as the CEO of this organization, what am I worried about? How big of a failure can I make? Now, you got to manage the downside risks, right? The one thing they will not tolerate is any harm or injury to a guest. You don't want to do something that's going to hurt somebody skiing on the mountain, or an unsafe area for the kids to play, or whatever it is, right? So there's certain things that are kind of off limits, but be willing to try, experiment, do something different. And just that simple knocking down this fear barrier, this fear roadblock that leadership tends to put in place and reinforce through their actions, getting rid of fear can be transformative. So run your own FailCon. Try that out within your organizations. Now, as I've talked through these 8 leadership roadblocks to innovation, I just want to reinforce that, look, leaders who promote an innovation-friendly workplace culture are crucial in today's world. Without innovation, leaders and organizations are doomed to fail. Absolutely doomed to fail. We need leaders. We need leaders who have those characteristics to support innovation. We've talked about the 8 roadblocks. So next week's show, I'm going to cover the 9 innovation leadership characteristics. How do you identify a leader who would be great at innovation? Or if you are an innovation leader, how do you highlight your characteristics if you're interviewing for an innovation position or positioning yourself to be potentially take on a leadership role in your existing organization? Here are going to be the 9 innovation leadership characteristics, and that will be next week's show. So if you're looking for success in your ability to lead innovation within your organization, or you're trying to find someone within your organization to lead your innovation efforts, you are definitely going to want to catch next week's show. But remember, innovation is the secret sauce. Innovation is the thing that will drive success, that will allow you to differentiate yourself from your competitors, to stand out in the market, to achieve a level of success that you cannot achieve without innovation. So hopefully this helps you identify those barriers, those roadblocks. And next week, we're going to talk about the characteristics that innovation leadership needs to have to help drive success for you and your organization. So I'm going to ask you a tough question. Of the 8 leadership roadblocks, the ones we just went through, which ones are the ones that you are now thinking about yourself? Things that maybe you need to think about. One that I always have to deal with, and that's burnout. Between being a CEO and doing the weekly podcast and writing on my blogs, newsletters, and then in addition, I am, working on book number 2. so I'm in the middle of that. Burnout is something that I have to think about. If I don't take the time, I'm not keeping my creative muscle in shape. And that is one of the big ones for me. The other is lack of resources. Albeit I'm the CEO at a research and innovation lab, we could always use more resources. We could always use more people, time, and money than we have for all of the great ideas we have in the innovation funnel. So as a CEO, for me, I'm on the constant search and balancing of resources. So be honest, go back, look at the 8 and think about which ones are the ones you maybe aren't knocking it out of the park, the ones that you need to be thinking about in order to help you, your team, your organization achieve innovation success. As we wrap up this week's show, I want to thank you for your time, for spending with us today. Really appreciate you checking us out. Hopefully you found today's show informative. As I shared in the main segment, this is a two-parter. So next week's show will cover what makes a good innovation leader. What are those characteristics that make for a great innovation leader? And you want to check that out, because that is where I think people can really latch on, particularly if you're hiring, recruiting, or you're looking at your own skill sets and the things that you should work on if you want to position yourself to be a strong, high-impact innovation leader. So check out next week's show. And again, thank you for your time. Greatly appreciate it. Got that favor to ask. Can you let others know about the show? Can you like our social media posts? Can you give us a thumbs up? Can you post a comment? Can you give us feedback? Really, really appreciate it. We do all the work on the show here. Nobody gets paid for it. So this is clearly 17 years. It's not been a moneymaker. We do it out of just sheer passion, and it is a way to meet the requirements or satisfy the ask that I got from my original mentor, Bob Davis, and that is to pay it forward. So sharing with you all of my years of being in the innovation game, my experiences, lessons learned, my failings, and hopefully you find it beneficial to help you in your career achieve innovation success. And with that, we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.